So, there's this guy, Keitaro Urashima, who's not exactly winning any popularity contests. He inherits this hostel full of girls, but the catch is, they all pretty much despise him. 15 years ago, Keitaro made a promise to a girl he can't even remember. No face, no name, nothing. That they'd both get into Tokyo University. Now he's more determined than ever to make good on that promise. One day, he goes to visit his grandma Hina and ends up in charge of the Hinata apartments, where the residents are a bunch of quirky, over-the-top girls. Shinobu Maihara is having a rough time. Her parents are splitting up, she's friendless, and she's about to move away from Hinata. She bumps into Keitaro and somehow ends up with his sketchbook, which has drawings of her smiling in it. Touched by her situation, Keitaro invites her to the apartment for a farewell party. When Shinobu's parents come to get her, Keitaro and the others hide her. After a chat on the roof where Keitaro compliments her cooking, Shinobu decides she wants to stay at the apartment. Her parents, albeit reluctantly, agree, and Shinobu becomes the cook at Hinata Apartments. Then there's Motoko Aoyama. Keitaro first runs into her when his friends are trying to hit on her and her crew, and she's not having it. She attacks them, and later, when Keitaro returns to the apartments, he finds her in the laundry room. She's shocked to see a guy in charge and tries to hit him with her wooden sword multiple times. Eventually, after some convincing from the other residents, she begrudgingly accepts him as the manager. However, when the girls at Hinata Apartments find out Keitaro isn't actually a Tokyo U student, but just a prep school guy, they're pretty disappointed. But they still let him stay as long as he helps out around the place. One day, Keitaro sneaks a peek at Naru's diary and learns about a promise she made years ago to go to Tokyo U. This makes him think Naru might be the girl he made his promise to. But when Naru catches him reading her diary, she's really upset and starts giving him the cold shoulder. Turns out, her promise was actually to a guy named Seta, though Keitaro doesn't know that yet. To make it up to Naru, Keitaro tries to impress her with his prep school exam results. When he thinks he bombed the exam because he got the first 3 questions wrong, he freaks out and runs away from the apartment. Both Keitaro and Naru are embarrassed after failing the entrance exams, Keitaro for the 3rd time and Naru for the 1st time. They decide to take a break and go on separate vacations to Kyoto, not realizing they're sitting next to each other on the train because their glasses are broken. They spend the day together, each thinking they've met an ideal match. Then, they end up sharing a hotel room and finally get their glasses back, realizing they've spent the day with each other. After a brief argument, they make up and decide to go sightseeing together. When the Hinata Apartments crew sees Keitaro on TV, they decide they need to rescue him. But they quickly get sidetracked because no one has any idea where they are. Meanwhile, Keitaro and Naru are still stuck on their unwanted shared holiday, much to Naru's annoyance. They run into Mutsumi Otohime, the girl Keitaro met during their 2nd exam, who's struggling to get home to Okinawa. Keitaro offers to help her out, and Naru tags along. But Mutsumi's terrible sense of direction leads them to all sorts of other Japanese cities instead of Okinawa. They keep narrowly missing the rest of the girls, who end up having some crazy adventures of their own while trying to track down Keitaro and Naru. Back at the apartments, Sue has created this new gadget called Virtual Kun, which shows what someone truly desires in their heart. When they use it on Keitaro, it reveals his feelings for Naru and his plan to take her to a new amusement park. But then one of Naru's classmates, the scheming Kentaro, makes her the same offer, setting up a competition between the 2 guys for her attention. Keitaro then gets his hands on an old video game called Legend of the Dragon Palace. At first, Motoko thinks it's silly, but soon she and the rest of the Hinata girls get caught up in the game's storyline in a shared dream. Then there's the issue of the monthly rent. Keitaro, too sleepy to pay attention, somehow loses the money. It's up to Kitsune and Sue, who both have solid alibis, to figure out who the thief is. Meanwhile, Kentaro, still trying to win Naru's favor, gets ambushed by a girl who looks like an older version of Sue. Keitaro and Naru team up to prove Sue's innocence, even though every other guy is quick to blame her. Fast forward, Naru wins a singing contest in Hinata and suddenly finds herself on the path to becoming a singing star. But with this new career on the horizon, she has to figure out if she can balance it with her studies and still aim for Tokyo U. Motoko has a secret fear of turtles, so when Naru's pet turtle, Tama-chan, gets mixed up with the laundry, Motoko is forced to ask everyone, including Keitaro, for clothes. Without her own clothes, she can't summon her ki and loses her skill with the sword. This becomes a big problem when Sue's robotic Tama-chan goes haywire and heads straight for Hinata House, and the residents really need a skilled swordswoman to save the day. After seeing one of Keitaro's awkward attempts to kiss Naru, Shinobu starts worrying about who her first kiss will be with. She thinks it might be Keitaro, but with Sue in the mix, it's anyone's guess who it will be. Hinata House is facing a financial crisis. They need to come up with 67,000 yen in 3 days, or the utility companies will cut off all services. Keitaro ends up working for a scientist from Tokyo U and his hyperactive daughter, without realizing there's an old connection between this man and Naru. Keitaro has to look after Seta's adoptive daughter, Sarah, while Seta is off on an archaeological dig. They end up exploring the darker parts of Hinata House, leading to a surprising discovery for everyone. Haruka is opening a tea house by the beach for the summer, and the residents need to put on a play to attract customers. But when Sue accidentally destroys the main building, Seta shows up with an alternative venue. The catch is, they have to switch up the cast for the play. Shirai and Haitani decide to help Keitaro win Naru's heart with a plan involving a spooky boat ride to make her cling to him. But things go awry when a real ghost shows up and grabs Naru, leaving Motoko to step in and fight for her. Before the residents return from their summer break, they attend the local town's summer festival, dressed in traditional outfits. Kitsune seems oddly determined to keep Naru and Seta apart, hinting at a possible ulterior motive. So, this guy shows up who looks exactly like Keitaro when he wears glasses. Turns out, he's from Kaala's home country, and he's here to marry her. But Kaala's not ready for that yet, even though tradition says she has to. Then, Keitaro finds this doll that can move on its own. Everyone's amazed, but only Keitaro and Mutsumi can actually hear it talk. The doll tells Keitaro that his great-grandfather promised to fix its legs, but never did. Being the good guy that he is, Keitaro decides to keep that promise. He ropes in the girls to help him fix the doll's legs and make good on his ancestors' word. So, Naru and Keitaro decide to go out to celebrate their latest grades. Both of them are secretly wondering if it's actually a date. In the middle of this, a mysterious little girl shows up. Meanwhile, Mutsumi reveals that she's trying to get into Tokyo U because of a promise she made as a little girl. She can't remember the boy's name or face, hinting that she might be the girl Keitaro made his promise to. Then there's Mei, Naru's stepsister, who wants to take Naru back home. She figures the best way to do this is by setting Keitaro up with Mutsumi. During all this, Naru stumbles upon a shocking revelation. Naru's now stuck wondering what to do with her newfound knowledge, especially since it looks like Keitaro might be leaving for good. His grandma's back to reclaim the inn, and it doesn't seem like Keitaro's studies will be enough to get him into Tokyo University. The whole gang has to clear out of Hinata House for a day because the inn needs repairs and renovations. It becomes clear that Keitaro might not be coming back, and Naru seems to have given up on him completely. So now the big question is, who will Keitaro choose as his soulmate, Naru or Mutsumi? Out of the blue, Motoko's sister shows up, ready to hand over the dojo. But Motoko isn't quite as strong as her sister. When her sister finds out, she gives Motoko an ultimatum: either beat her in a fight or marry Keitaro.